A man in a torn fishing vest shoved the skinny girl onto the wet planks. "Come back to this pier again," he snarled, "and I'll drag you straight to the harbor patrol." The storm had swallowed the coastline hours ago, but the docks at Glass Harbor still stank of salt, diesel, and anger. A man in a torn fishing vest shoved the skinny girl onto the wet planks. "Come back to this pier again," he snarled, "and I'll drag you straight to the harbor patrol." People stared. Someone laughed. Most just walked past. The girl, Mariah Veil, pushed herself up, water dripping from her elbows. Her hair hung like seaweed. Her knees scraped raw, but her eyes stayed bright. No humiliation could drown her. The next morning, she tried again. Not the dogs this time. She slipped into Brightford Academy, the wealthiest private school in the region, a place that looked more like a marble museum than somewhere students should dare to breathe. That's where she first saw him. Adrian Luke, son of Senator Corwin Luke, stepped out of a sleek silver sedan. The boy was immaculate, pressed uniform, expensive headphones, flawless haircut. He looked like someone who had never known hunger or cold or anything sharp except a pencil. But when Adrian opened his textbook, Mariah froze. His lips moved silently, his brows knit together. He reread the same sentence 3 times. She recognized that struggle instantly. Not stupidity, but drowning in words no one had ever taught him to swim through. That afternoon by the school's glass greenhouse, Adrian found a shadow waiting for him. Hello," he said cautiously. Mariah stepped forward, clutching her stolen stub of a pencil like a weapon. I can help you," she whispered. He blinked. "Help me? With reading? With assignments?" "I listen through windows. I learn fast." Adrian stared at her, the sea-scented girl in thong clothes, trembling yet determined. "Show me," he said at last. Mariah took the book gently and read the paragraph effortlessly, breaking it down into simple thoughts, showing him how each sentence worked like gears in a machine. Adrian's jaw loosened. You're brilliant," that's how it began. Every day after school, they met in the greenhouse behind the orchards. Mariah taught him phonetics by tapping patterns into the soil. She explained equations using pebbles and broken flower pots. Adrian practiced until his handwriting steadied and his panic faded. And in return, Adrian smuggled her muffins, old notebooks, and once a flashlight with new batteries. "Why are you helping me?" he asked one evening. "Because someone helped me once," Mariah murmured, "and I promised I'd pass it on." For the first time, Mariah felt like more than a ghost who survived on scraps. She felt seen. But secrets wrought quickly in a rich man's world. One afternoon, Senator Luke arrived earlier than expected. He stopped dead at the sight of his son, well-dressed heir to the Luck legacy, sitting cross-legged in the dirt next to a ragged, barefoot girl. "Adrian!" the senator boomed. "Away from her!" Adrian jumped. "Dad, she's my tutor!" The senator turned to Mariah. "What is this? Who let you into this academy? Security!" Mariah's heart pounded as 2 guards rushed forward. "She's not a trespasser," Adrian shouted. "She's helping me learn." The senator's expression flickered. Shock, then calculation. He looked Mariah over like she was a puzzle missing half its pieces. "How old are you?" 13, she whispered. "Where do you live?" Mariah swallowed. "In the abandoned lighthouse." His jaw tightened, but instead of yelling again, He whispered something to the nearest guard. Don't touch her. Not yet. Not kindness, strategy. Everything changed that day. 2 weeks later, Senator Locke visited the lighthouse. Mariah expected a warning, maybe another threat. Instead, he arrived with social workers, lawyers, and the headmaster of Brightford Academy. The senator knelt in front of her. You gave my son what all his tutors failed to give him. Confidence, he said. I want to give you a chance too. A home, an education, and safety. Mariah felt the entire lighthouse tilt, but she whispered, I don't know how to live with people. I only know how to survive. His voice softened for the first time. Then we'll learn together. 3 months later, Mariah stood in a courtroom larger than any building she'd slept near. Miss Mariah Veil, the judge said gently, do you understand why you're here? She nodded. Senator Locke stood beside her, calm as a harbor before dawn. He wants to adopt me, she whispered. And do you want that? She looked at Adrian, her first real friend, and felt the weight of belonging press warm against her ribs. Yes, she said, voice steady. I choose this family. The gavel hit. Just like that, Mariah Veil became Mariah Locke. Back at the Locke mansion, the staff had decorated the halls with floating paper lanterns. Adrian pushed her toward a silver table where a cake gleamed beneath crystal lights. It read, Welcome home, Mariah Locke. She had never seen her name written anywhere except graffiti she once etched on the lighthouse wall. Go on, Adrian smiled. Slice it. Her eyes glistened. Why me? She asked the senator quietly. There are hundreds like me. Because when my son was drowning, Senator Locke replied, you were the one who taught him how to breathe. Mariah sliced the cake with trembling hands. A year later, Adrian and Mariah entered the National Young Innovators Expo. Adrian presented a digital reading aid device. Mariah built an algorithm that simplified complex text into clear language. The judges were stunned, but when Mariah won the gold medal, the internet exploded. Someone dug up an old image of her living in the lighthouse. Cruel comments followed. Lighthouse rats. Low charity projects, pretending to be smart. Mariah locked herself in her room and wept into her pillow. Adrian knocked softly. You saved me once, he said. Let me save you now. Senator Locke came too. When I ran for office, people called me a fraud, he said. Now they beg me for my endorsements. People attack what they don't understand, but do remember, storms only target ships that are moving. Mariah sniffed. It still hurts. That means you're human, he said. Keep going. She wiped her eyes. I will. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived from the Aurora Institute for Global Minds. She'd been accepted, top of a region, full scholarship, international mentorship, a laboratory seat waiting for her. Adrian screamed. Senator Locke went silent. Later, under the greenhouse lights, he finally spoke. You've outgrown this harbor, he said. Now the world needs you. Mariah swallowed hard. I'm scared. Good, he said. It means you're aiming high. At the airport, the senator gave her a velvet box. Inside was a small necklace, a silver charm shaped like a lighthouse lens. So you'll never forget where you started, he said. Adrian hugged her fiercely. Promise me you'll come back. I promise. As Mariah boarded, she looked through the glass at her new family, a senator and a once struggling boy waving like she was the moon rising. She touched the lighthouse charm. "I'll make you proud." The plane lifted into the clouds. Mariah was thriving. New labs, new mentors, new possibilities. But back in Glass Harbor, something miraculous was happening. The old lighthouse, the place she once called home, was being restored with government funding, and carved into the stone at the base was a plaque dedicated to Mariah Luke, who proved that light can come from the darkest places. Sometimes the world decides your worth before you ever speak. But your value isn't measured by where you started, only by how much light you chose to carry and how bravely you share it with others. If you love this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and drop a comment below. What lesson stood out the most to you from this story? Please share in the comment section. Until next time, this is Timeless Tales by IBK, where stories live forever.
In the restless heartbeat of Lagos, where traffic horns argue with the sun and survival is a daily exam, lived a 24-year-old woman named Caroline. If you saw her on the road, you might not look twice. Dusty scarf, worn-out boots, rough palms, shoulders slightly bent, not from weakness, but from responsibility. But if you looked into her eyes, you would pause. Those were not the eyes of a 24-year-old. Those were the eyes of someone who had buried childhood too early. Caroline's life had split in two at age 12. Before the accident, she was just a girl who loved drawing flowers in the sand. After the accident, she became a parent. Her mother and father died in a bus crash on their way back from the village. One minute, she had a family. The next, she had silence. No rich uncle came forward. No distant aunt appeared with sympathy. Just 3 children. And a house that suddenly felt too large and too empty. Daniel was 8. Blessing was 6. And Caroline was 12. But overnight, she became everything. She sold bread by the roadside. She washed clothes until her fingers cracked. She hawked sachet water under the burning sun. But hunger does not respect effort. When survival tightened its grip, she made a decision most girls her age would never imagine. She begged a mason to teach her construction work. At first, the man laughed. "You carry block. This one will faint before noon." She didn't argue. She carried. She learned. She endured. By 16, she was balancing blocks on her head with the stability of someone who had no choice but to master balance. By 20, she was mixing cement with arms stronger than her fears. By 24, she had built many houses. Just not her own. But every evening, when the workers left and the sky turned orange, Caroline would sit on the edge of unfinished buildings and whisper into the wind. One day, things will change. Not angrily. Not desperately. Just faithfully. What she didn't know. Change had already started walking toward her. Across the same city, in a house so large that footsteps echoed, lived a man named Vincent Benjamin. 30 years old. Self-made billionaire. Owner of 2 massive real estate companies, one in Nigeria, one in the United States. His face appeared in magazines. His name opened doors. His bank account solved problems. But money can buy convenience. It cannot buy certainty of the heart. Vincent grew up wealthy, but his mother made sure he grew up grounded. Respect people, she would say. True wealth is how you treat those who can offer you nothing. He listened. Yet, despite the houses, the cars, The international flights, he felt a hollow space inside him. Women came. Beautiful women. Educated women. Influential women. But something always felt rehearsed. They loved his lifestyle. They admired his success. They smiled at his status. But did they see him? Or just his empire? I want someone real, he once told his closest friend. Someone who understands struggle. Someone who would choose me even if I had nothing. Ironically, the woman who fit that description was carrying cement less than 10 kilometers away. But destiny does not announce itself. It waits for collision. The morning felt light. Vincent decided to drive himself, no convoy, no driver, no assistance. Just jeans. A green t-shirt. A face cap. I just want to breathe today, he muttered. He went shopping at a supermarket near one of his properties. Snacks. Water. Toothpaste. Ordinary purchases for a man who lived an extraordinary life. He paid. Slipped his black wallet into his back pocket. And walked away. But the wallet didn't stay. It slipped out. Softly. Silently. Unnoticed. Inside that wallet was more than money. Foreign currency. Identification. Business cards. Access. For most people, it would be temptation wrapped in leather. For Caroline, it would be a test .07. Caroline entered the same supermarket minutes later. She had counted her money twice before buying a drink. That was her reality, precision before spending. When she stepped outside, something black on the ground caught her eye. She bent. Picked it up. It was heavy. Too heavy to ignore. When she opened it, her breath paused. Dollars. Cards. Foreign IDs. This wasn't ordinary money. This was life-changing money. For a moment, just one moment, her mind calculated. School fees for Daniel. New shoes for Blessing. Rent. Food. No one was watching. No one knew. She could walk away. And her life would improve instantly. But character is who you are when no one is watching. She closed the wallet. Turned. And walked back inside. Someone dropped this outside, she told the cashier calmly. The cashier stared at her. You're returning it? Yes. No drama. No hesitation. Just truth. She left before the owner could appear. Because she didn't do it for applause. She did it because that's who she was. At the petrol station, Vincent reached into his pocket. Nothing. He checked again. Nothing. His heartbeat shifted. He searched the car. The seats. The dashboard. The floor mats. Nothing. A cold wave crept up his spine. For the first time in years, Vincent felt exposed. Not as a billionaire. Not as a powerful man. Just human. Because vulnerability feels the same whether you are rich or poor. He drove back fast. Too fast. His mind raced even harder than the engine. Important cards. Confidential documents. Cash wasn't the problem. It was what the wallet represented. Control. Inside the supermarket, when the wallet was returned to him, untouched, he stood in stunned silence. He opened it slowly. Not $1 missing. Not one card gone. Even the receipts were exactly as he had folded them. Where is she? He asked, his voice lower now. Intent. The cashier hesitated. She didn't leave her number. Vincent felt something rare, humility. He turned to the store manager. "Pull up your CCTV footage," he said calmly, but there was urgency beneath it. "I want to see the person who returned this wallet." Minutes later, they stood in a small back office. The screen flickered. And there she was. Dust on her clothes. Tired eyes. She held the wallet carefully, almost reverently, as if it did not belong in her hands. He watched her pause. Just for a second. A long second. She could have walked away. No one was watching. But she stepped forward instead. Vincent leaned closer to the screen. Zoom in. There was something about her face. Not greed. Not desperation. Strength. Quiet strength. Someone who needed money more than him chose integrity. That unsettled him. "Can you track where she went after this?" he asked. The manager shook his head. "She left on foot." On foot. Vincent stared at the frozen image of her face. A woman who likely counted every naira, had protected thousands of dollars that weren't hers. That night, he could not sleep. The image replayed in his mind. Her pause. Her decision. Her eyes. He stared at the ceiling and whispered, "Who are you?" 3 weeks later, Caroline returned. The cashier handed her Vincent's number. Her heart fluttered, but she remained composed. She intended to call him. But life has its own script. The paper went into a shopping bag. The bag went into the trash. The trash was collected. Opportunity gone. She ran barefoot to the waste bin when she remembered. Empty. She stood there, fighting tears. Then she said something powerful. "If it is meant for me, it will find me again." That sentence. That was faith. Weeks later, at a charity outreach event sponsored by a major real estate company, fate tightened its grip. Caroline attended because food was being distributed. Vincent was there because he funded it. Their eyes met. Electric. Still. Unplanned. "I finally met you," Vincent said softly. "I lost your number," she admitted. They exchanged numbers again. This time, surely destiny wouldn't interfere. Right. Wrong. On the crowded bus ride home, she left her phone behind. By the time she realized, it was gone. Vincent called. Switched off. Again. Switched off. Doubt crept in. Did she block him? Was she uninterested? Meanwhile, she sat on her floor that night and whispered, "God, you are faithful. Even in loss." Days later, Vincent visited a construction site. A house he was building for someone special. As he stepped out of his SUV, dust rose in the air. Then he saw her. Carrying a block on her head. Sweat on her face. Cement on her hands. Caroline. The woman who returned thousands of dollars, was carrying cement to survive. He called her name. She froze. Turned. Shock in her eyes. They stood face to face. Between unfinished walls and unspoken destiny. Vincent looked at her with something deeper than admiration. Respect. "You returned my wallet," he said quietly. "And now I see who you are." He paused. Then added, "Drop that block. Come with me." Her fingers tightened. Not because she feared him, but because she feared hope. Hope can be dangerous when life has trained you to expect disappointment. "What do you mean?" she asked carefully. Vincent looked at the rising house behind them. This house, he said, is not just for anyone. She didn't understand. Not yet. But what she didn't know was this. The house he was building was meant for someone who had once protected his childhood. And destiny was about to weave her into something much bigger than romance. Before we continue this powerful story, let's pause. Because this isn't just entertainment. There are truths here. Integrity will cost you sometimes, but it will never bankrupt you. What is meant for you may delay, but it will not disappear. Character creates opportunities that money cannot buy. True wealth is not in what you keep, but in what you return. Caroline could have taken the money. No one would have known. But destiny watches what people don't. And now, two lives are standing at the edge of transformation. Will Vincent simply reward her? Or is something far deeper unfolding? Will love grow? Or will class differences tear them apart? Will secrets from Vincent's past complicate everything? And what is the real reason he was building that house? Part 2 is where everything changes. And trust me, the real twist hasn't even begun. To be continued. Caroline stood still, the block still balanced on her head. Vincent stepped closer and gently lifted it down himself. The other workers watched in confusion. "You know her?" one of them asked. "Yes," Vincent replied calmly. "She once protected something of mine." Caroline blinked. "I only returned your wallet." Vincent shook his head. "No. You returned my faith." He turned and looked at the unfinished house. "This building," he said slowly, "is for someone who saved my life when I was 10 years old." Caroline frowned. Vincent continued. "When I was a child, I got separated from my security team at a market. I was kidnapped. But before the men could take me far, a girl screamed. She beat one of them. She threw sand in another's eyes. She created enough chaos for people to notice." He paused. "She was small, thin, fierce." Caroline's heart began to pound. "I never saw her again," he said. "But I never forgot her." The world tilted. At 12, after her parents died, Caroline had stopped at a market to sell bread. She remembered two men dragging a small boy. She remembered instinct taking over. She remembered biting, screaming, throwing sand. She never knew who that boy was. Vincent's voice softened. "I've spent years trying to find her. This house was going to be hers, if I ever found her." Silence swallowed the space between them. Caroline's lips trembled. "It was you," he whispered. Tears filled her eyes, not because of destiny, but because she had never known that moment mattered. To her, it was just another day of survival. To him, it was the day his life was saved. That evening, Vincent visited Caroline's home. It was small. Paint peeling. Roof slightly leaking. But clean. Organized. Alive. Daniel, now 19, stood protectively by the door. Blessing, 17, watched Vincent's car like it was from another planet. Vincent removed his shoes before entering. That one act earned him silent respect. "I want to sponsor Daniel's university education," Vincent said calmly. "And Blessings as well." Caroline's spine straightened. "With respect," she said gently, "we are not charity." Vincent smiled slightly. "I know. That's why I'm not offering charity. I'm offering gratitude." She looked at him steadily. "And what do you want in return?" He answered without hesitation. "Nothing. She searched his eyes for hidden conditions. There were none. Just sincerity. Still, she shook her head slightly. If you want to help, give Daniel a job interview. Let him earn it. Help Blessing with mentorship. Let her grow. But we will not be handed alive. Vincent felt something rare again. Pride. Not in himself. In her. News travels fast when money is involved. Within weeks, rumors began. She trapped him. She planned the wallet story. Construction girl aiming for billionaire life. In high society circles, Vincent's name started appearing beside Caroline's. Some investors were uncomfortable. Some women were offended. Especially one. Vanessa Cole. Daughter of a powerful senator. Educated abroad. Elegant. Strategic. She had assumed she would eventually marry Vincent. Not because of love. Because of alliance. When she saw Caroline's photo beside his at a charity event, she laughed. Temporary distraction, she said. But insecurity is loudest in those who pretend to be unbothered. One evening, Vincent took Caroline to see the completed house. White walls. White windows. A small garden in front. It's beautiful, she whispered. It's yours, he replied. She stepped back. No. He looked confused. I didn't save you to secure property, she said softly. And I didn't return your wallet to earn reward. He stepped closer. This isn't payment. Then what is it? He took a breath. It's where I hoped the bravest girl I ever met would live. Caroline's eyes filled again. But she shook her head. If I enter a house I didn't build, I'll never feel at home in it. Vincent studied her. Then nodded slowly. Then build it with me. She blinked. What? Not physically, he said gently. Partner with my company. I want to start a program training women in construction. Paid apprenticeships. Leadership roles. Her heart stopped. You would trust me with that? I trust your character more than most executives I know. For the first time, hope didn't feel dangerous. It felt earned. Vanessa did not lose quietly. She arranged a private meeting with Caroline. They met at a quiet cafe. Vanessa arrived in designer heels and controlled confidence. You're impressive, Vanessa began smoothly. From cement to CEO meetings. Caroline remained calm. I'm still learning. Vanessa smiled thinly. Let's not pretend. Men like Vincent don't marry struggle. They experiment with it. The words were sharp. But Caroline didn't flinch. If he sees me as an experiment, then he is not the man I think he is. Vanessa leaned forward. You will embarrass him in his world. Caroline stood. Then he shouldn't bring me into it. No anger. No insecurity. Just truth. Vanessa watched her leave, and felt something unsettling. Threat. Pressure mounted. Board members questioned Vincent's emotional decisions. Investors hinted at withdrawing. Articles subtly criticized him. One headline read, Billionaire's new obsession raises eyebrows. Vincent called an emergency meeting. He stood at the head of the table. I built this company from the ground up, he said calmly. If empowering hardworking women threatens investors, you are free to leave. Silence. Power is not volume. It is certainty. Some left. Most stayed. Because leaders who stand firm attract loyalty. Months passed. The Women in Construction program launched. It exploded in success. Caroline led with empathy. Productivity increased. Public perception shifted. Respect replaced mockery. One evening, Vincent and Caroline sat on the steps of the original house. Not as billionaire and laborer. Not as rumor and headline. Just two people. "You never tried to impress me," Vincent said quietly. She smiled. "I was too busy surviving." He took her hand. "No matter what happens, you will never be my charity case." "And you," she replied softly, "will never be my escape plan." That was the moment love became real. Not dramatic. Not flashy. Just steady. A year later, their wedding was simple. No gold-plated decorations. No excessive spectacle. Just family. Friends. Workers from construction sites. Scholarship students. And genuine smiles. Vanessa attended. Not bitter. Just thoughtful. Because sometimes losing teaches more than winning. Vincent didn't marry a project. He married a partner. Caroline didn't marry wealth. She married respect. And the house that was once meant as a reward, they turned it into a training center for young girls who had been told, "You can't." Integrity attracts opportunity, but humility sustains it. Real love does not rescue, it respects. Power is strongest when it uplifts others. Class differences disappear where character stands tall. What you survive may become someone else's salvation. And that wallet. It was never just leather and money. It was destiny disguised as a test. The end.
If you love this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and drop a comment below. What lesson stood out the most to you from this story? Please share it in the comment section. Until next time, this is Timeless Tales by IBK, where stories live forever.